Thank you very much, friends. Friends, thank you so much, and Rachel, thank you so much for that introduction. Today is about the young people of Britain and all who care about them right across the generations. I've listened to you, and today I pledge the government I lead is going to work with you to change your future for the better. You know, 4 years ago, I said the promise of Britain, that the next generation would do better than the last, was being betrayed. When I said it, some people doubted it. But few people doubt it today. Because for all of the talent and ambition of our fantastic young people, we're a country where it's now almost taken for granted that young people will find life harder than their parents. We are going to turn that round. The next Labour government is going to turn that round. And the truth is, it's true wherever you look at the prospects in Britain today. Services for children in the early years in decline. Class sizes growing in our schools. The number of apprenticeships for the young actually falling. Young people leaving university saddled with greater and greater debt. Many unable to find stable and well-paying jobs. And it's harder and harder for those just starting out to find a home of their own. The promise of Britain is being broken. Today we say enough. It's time to restore the promise of Britain for our young people. And what has happened over the last 4 years is not just bad for young people themselves. It is a disaster for Britain. But a country where the next generation is doing worse is a country in decline. All that talent, ambition, hope for the future going to waste, plans put to one side, dreams dashed. It is the betrayal of an entire generation. And what does this government that has caused so many of these problems have to say about this state of affairs that they've created? All the young people of Britain have heard from them during the last 5 years is blame, denial, and broken promises. Youth unemployment on the rise? Blame the young for not making an effort. Apprenticeships for young people in short supply? Rebadge some training schemes for older workers and claim they're going up. The cost of going to university? Promise one thing in an election and deliver exactly the opposite. For the sake of our whole country, we need to do better for our young people. We must do better for our young people, and with a Labour government, we will do better for our young people. And we have a plan to turn things around at every stage of life. The best start in life, 25 hours of free childcare for all 3- and 4-year-olds. The best education we can offer, lowering all class sizes for 5-, 6- and 7-year-olds to 30 or under. Investing in the future, protecting the whole of the education budget, including the early years, the school years, and college education after that. An apprenticeship revolution. If you get the grades at 18, you'll be guaranteed an apprenticeship. And our Young People's Manifesto will spell out more. But today, I want to set out one key part, one essential part of our pledge to young people. Now, you know, there are those who say that the current tuition fee regime is not so bad. Let me tell you about that current system. The average graduate is leaving university with more than £44,000 of debt. That's far more than the average income in the country. 3/4 of young people won't be able to pay off that debt even as they head towards retirement. In case you hadn't noticed, none of my generation, the same generation as David Cameron and Nick Clegg, had to begin their adult life with that sort of debt. I think of a 21-year-old, like lots of people here today, about to start their working life. Over £40,000 worth of debt, harder to plan for the future, harder to think about getting a mortgage, and for parents, grandparents, I know that debt feels like such a worry, a burden, a dead weight. If you've got 2 kids at university, you think about them being loaded down with almost £100,000 worth of debt. Now, you might think after all this that having trebled fees for students, at least one virtue of this system was it would be saving money for the taxpayer. Well, you'd be wrong. I mean, it's an extraordinary achievement, isn't it, of this government? Today, we're publishing our zero-based review into the current tuition fee system, and its findings are stark. Ed Balls is going to say more about this in a moment. It reveals beyond doubt that the scourge of debt from tuition fees is not only holding back our young people, it is a burden on our country. The government's tuition fee system will have added an extra £16 billion more than predicted to public debt by 2020, and if left unchanged, the whole system will have added £281 billion of debt by 2030. So more debt for students and more debt for the taxpayer. That is why this will go down as one of the most expensive broken promises in the history of British politics. Now, they call that a great success, but we're going to change it. We're going to reduce the debt on university students. We're going to reduce the debt on taxpayers. From September of next year, the next Labour government will reduce tuition fees from £9,000 to £6,000, meeting our obligations to the next generation. It will benefit those starting courses next year. It will benefit those already at university. The average reduction in the debt will be around £9,000 per student, higher for courses longer than 3 years. And the national debt, the burden on taxpayers, will be cut by £40 billion by 2030. We're going to clear up the mess of the tuition fee system left by the Conservatives and the Liberal Democrats. And these changes are fully funded, protecting the universities so they can continue to offer the best education for the next generation. Let me explain how. Those with incomes over £150,000 currently get pensions tax relief at more than twice the rate of basic rate taxpayers. So Labour today confirms our previously announced policy that people with incomes over £150,000 will get tax relief at 20%, the same rate as basic rate taxpayers. And we will continue this government's policy of reducing the annual allowance and lifetime limit that caps the amount people can put into their pensions tax-free. We'll reduce the lifetime allowance for tax-free savings to £1 million. That's still 25 times higher than the average defined contribution pension. And we'll reduce the annual allowance for what you can save tax-free into your pension to £30,000, still nearly 10 times higher than the average pension contribution. These are fair choices that allow a better future for our young people and a better future for Britain. And we will do more, and we will do more. We won't just cut the debt of students. We want to make it easier for students from all backgrounds to get through their studies. So for those with family incomes up to £42,000, we'll raise the maximum maintenance grant by £400 a year from September 2016 because we are determined to help students with their living costs. Now, look, I know some people will say that cutting fees is the wrong choice, that university benefits only a few, or the current system isn't broken, or that Britain can't afford it. They're dead wrong. They're dead wrong because Britain needs the best educated young people in the world. Britain mustn't send our young people off into life saddled with unsustainable debt. Britain mustn't penalise the young if we're going to prosper in the future. Our economy and our country can't afford to waste the talent of any young person. This is a better plan for Britain, a better plan for our young people. And here's one other thing. In our politics, we must restore people's faith, not further undermine it. This is an issue we just cannot ignore. Nick Clegg made his promise on tuition fees. He broke his promise on tuition fees. It has left a whole generation doubting politics, doubting anyone can be believed or trusted. So let me just say this directly to Britain's young people. I made you a promise on tuition fees. I will keep my promise. I don't want to simply build your faith in Labour. I want to restore your faith in change that can be believed, and that is what the next Labour government will offer. And lastly this, today is about our responsibilities to the young. But that is not just the concern of young people themselves. It is the concern of every generation, every parent, every grandparent, every person in our country cares about the future of young people. Today is the day we say we will not make the young pay the price of hard times. And I appeal to every parent, every grandparent in Britain, every concerned citizen. Let's together turn around the prospects of young people. Let's make ourselves again a country where the next generation does better than the last. Let's restore the promise of Britain. Let's be a country which again believes in our young people, so we can be a country which all our young people believe in again. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks very much. Thank you very much, friends. Thank you very much. And friends, I'd now like to introduce the Shadow Chancellor, Ed Balls, to set out more about this policy. Ed.
Thank you, Ed. I think the whole of this room and everybody watching this will truly appreciate your commitment and determination to make sure that we keep our promises to the young people of this country and to the taxpayers of this country, and that's what we are determined to do. And I want to start by saying that the next Labour government, the next Labour Business Department, the next Labour Treasury is determined to invest in the talents of the next generation. It's the only way to build a stronger and fairer economy. It's the only way to deliver rising living standards for all. That's why over the last month we've been focused on education and young people, on capping class sizes for 5-, 6- and 7-year-olds, on protecting the whole of the education budget from the early years through to school and college education, and also guaranteeing an apprenticeship for every 18-year-old who gets the grades, and today backing students and our universities too. As a constituency MP here in Leeds in West Yorkshire, I know how worried school leavers and parents are across Morley and outward, my constituency, because they're worried that their kids are going to start adult life burdened by so much debt if they choose to go to university. And as Shadow Chancellor, I'm equally worried about the debts that the current system is racking up for future taxpayers. Because, as Ed just said, this government system is not only bad for students, it's truly bad for the public finances too. Students are graduating with a bigger burden of debt, but our zero-based review has exposed that it's also leading to much higher national debt too. David Cameron, George Osborne, Nick Clegg's new student finance system will add £16 billion more to net debt by the end of the next Parliament than was expected, and many billions of pounds more after that. As I said last month, the system isn't working, it's not sustainable, and we need to fix it. And that's what we are determined to do with the better plan that Ed has set out today. So we will cut the fee cap from £6,000 from next September 2016. We'll raise the maximum maintenance grant by £400 a year too from the same date. Our plan is fully costed and fully funded. It means we can continue to back world-class universities who will not lose out from today's announcement. And unlike the Tories, we aren't making promises on taxation or on any aspect of policy without saying where the money will come from. And unlike Nick Clegg and the Liberal Democrats, we aren't making promises that we can't keep. So we're going to pay for this policy in a fair way by limiting the tax breaks which go to the richest in society, and also asking the highest earning graduates, earning over £40,000, to pay a slightly higher interest rate. People earning over £150,000 will get the same rate of tax relief on their pension contributions as basic rate taxpayers. And we'll continue what this government has done since 2010 in reducing the lifetime and annual allowances. With our plan, people will get tax relief on pension contributions up to £30,000 a year of pension contribution, and up to a pension pot of £1 million. And that means we can fully fund our plan to cut the debt burden on students and also guarantee an apprentice for every young person with the grades and get all young people out of work for over a year back to work. And the policy which we are announcing today will reduce by 2030 our national debt by £40 billion. It's the... This is a policy which is not only fair to students, fair to young people, and fair to future taxpayers. It is also an example of Labour pursuing fiscal responsibility in the national interest, because this is a policy which will strengthen and improve our public finances, not weaken our public finances with more debt, as we see from David Cameron, George Osborne and Nick Clegg. And it also means, with Labour's better plan, thousands of young people in my constituency in Leeds and Wakefield, here in West Yorkshire and across our country, will be able to get an apprenticeship or make a decision to go to university based, as it should be, on their talents and on their hard work and their aspiration, and knowing that with Labour's plans they will do so with higher grants, less debt, and a government on their side.